Okay, so now I want to show you, we have 15 minutes. I want to show you how you can create a database remotely, and then we can connect to it next week. So when you create a database remotely, in most websites, you probably have to pay. I mean, you would have to pay something, like some amount. It's usually not expensive, but you would have to pay. There's a website called Heroku, and I use this website to host my websites. I actually don't use the database in Heroku. I use kind of an AWS database because it's better and it's more, it's just more powerful and faster, and it gives you more kind of features. But if you create a database on Heroku, it's going to be free. So you can, essentially what I'm trying to say here is you can create a free Postgres, which is the database management systems that we're going to learn in this course, free database that you can change and play with and kind of experiment. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go to Heroku. Let me log into my Heroku account, and then I'll show you how you can do that. So when you log into Heroku, or when you go to Heroku, you have to create an account. You can create an account. It's very kind of basic. And once you create an account, okay, let's see. All right, do you guys see my my Heroku? Let me see, where is my participants? Okay. All right, so this is the Heroku. When you create an account, that's what you're going to see. You're not going to have any apps. I have many apps. You're only seeing kind of 3 here, but I have more. And what you want to do is you want to create a new app, kind of a new project. So I'm going to click here, new, and I'm going to say new app. And you want to give it a name. So maybe I can give it, actually, let me see. Maybe I can give it ITCS 3160. Maybe you can see that this one exists because I'm actually using the website. The website has this app name, but let me call it section 52. Okay, so that's your section. So I'm just creating an app here, and I'm gonna, let me just do one thing here. I'm gonna go scroll down. I'm gonna say, well, let me actually show you more stuff now. Okay. And I'm gonna create an app, and it just creates kind of a project for me. We don't need to worry about any of that. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna go to resources, and you wanna search for Postgres. So Postgres, again, here it's called Heroku Postgres. Postgres is the relational database management systems that we're gonna use to write kind of commands, syntax for the database. So again, when we create those tables, let me see. Where's mine? Here. When you create those tables and you put data in them, you have to put that table somewhere. So we want to use Heroku Postgres. So Postgres is a database that we're going to put the data in. Because it's free, we want to use it. So you can try to kind of follow along if you want to. We don't have too much time, so I want to kind of continue. And then if you have any questions, you can ask me, or of course you can rewatch some of the stuff. Again, we're going to have many short videos, which is actually nice. You, of course, want to do the free. And if you want more than the free, well, I guess if you want the hobby, that's okay. But I think after that, it would make more sense to use AWS. So it would make more sense to use another kind of more serious website for databases. I don't have any of those, actually. I have some free ones, but for the ones that I have connected to big projects, they're not any of those. They're actually AWS. So I use another website to create the database. For now, we want to use this because that's free. And I'm going to submit my order. And it'll take just a few seconds. And right now it's created. So you should see Heroku Postgres here. And what you can do is you can click on this. And after you click here, Another page will open. It's going to say not found, then it'll open. And it'll tell you actually what you have. You have 10,000 rows. So that's what's allowed, 10,000 rows. 10,000 rows is not many, but it'll be enough for you for this course to kind of build simple stuff. It'll be enough, but 10K rows is actually not many. And 20 connections is not many either. 20 connections essentially means how many people are talking to the database at the same time. It should be more than 20, but of course, for the free one, we're happy. And now the database is created. If you go to settings, and then if you go to view credentials, it'll give you the username of the database, the password of the database, how you can access the database from somewhere else. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to show you the credentials. I'm going to say view credentials. I'm going to delete this database, so it's okay if you have this credentials. It doesn't really matter because you wouldn't be able to connect to it after. You do want to create your own database. So was everything clear, guys? Do you have any questions about that? So I created a Heroku account. I actually had that. So I just logged in. I created an app and I went to resources. Let me go back to my app. I can click here. Let me make this smaller. I'm going to click on my picture here. And it's actually going to take me to, well, that's taking me to everything. Let me go to applications. Wow, let me see, maybe I should click here. Okay, let me go to the dashboard. So here's my applications. The one that I created is called ITCS 316052. I'm going to click on it. And again, I went to resources and then I searched for Postgres. I clicked here and I created, I said, I clicked on submit order. And then of course I clicked here. And this thing opened. Do you guys have any questions about what I did? Again, you can of course rewatch the videos. Do you have any questions about this, guys? Are you good? Does that make sense? Give me a reaction. All right, so it made sense. You followed along. If it didn't make sense, then you have to ask me questions. It cannot. Not sure.
Can I ask a question? I just wanted to know how do we make like an account for this?
So if you go to Heroku, let me see if I can do something here. If you go to Heroku.com, do you guys see my screen now? If you go to Heroku, you can just sign up, and for this one, all of this is easy. You don't need to do anything for a company name. For this one, you can just say hobbyist, doesn't really, or student if you want. It's pretty kind of straightforward. Once you create the account, you can log in and create apps. So that's how you do it. Naja, if you have a question. Will we be using Heroku as our main software? So we'll be using many different softwares, but Heroku is going to be the place where we're going to host the database. So again, the database has to live somewhere, and we don't want it to live on our computers. We can, but that's not really the thing that usually people do. So we want to find a place that we can host the database and the tables in, and we're going to use Heroku for that. Yeah. So, okay, that's good. Create a Heroku Postgres. Yeah, you can. So again, to create a Heroku database, once you click on your app, this is your app, you want to go to resources, you want to search for Postgres like this, and you click here and you just submit order, and that will create a Postgres database. You can have many, by the way. Okay, Joseph is saying, do you want the app name to be the same? No, you can have any app name you want. Doesn't really matter. You can just It's fine as long as it's available and as long as it's correct and it doesn't contain, I think, underscores. I don't think they allow you to do underscores. It's fine. Okay, let's see. Any other questions, guys? So if there's something that you don't understand, you have to ask me. I expect you to ask me questions.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So someone asked in the chat, do we choose Python as our main programming language when creating the account?
Yeah, that's a good actually question. You don't have to. You can choose anything, but yes, it's better to choose Python for now. So when you create a new app, choose Python. But it really, for now, we're not going to use Python. We're just going to use the database. Any other questions? Okay, now we don't have a lot of time. I do want to connect it to PyCharm, but I feel that you're going to have questions. I mean, it seems that you have a lot of questions, which is a good thing. And I don't want to rush it, and I don't want to not give you the chance to kind of ask questions. So maybe I should just wait here and answer other questions, and maybe next week I can show you how you can connect it to PyCharm, and I can show you how you can kind of test it and write some code. So what do you guys think? Do you have any questions? We have a few minutes to kind of answer questions. Again, I prefer to kind of continue next week so that I can give you time to ask more questions about the new stuff that we want to do. So what we did is we created, again, a database. And once you create a database, you can actually click here and you can go to settings and you can go to view credentials. And we need to use this information to connect this database to our PyCharm. So PyCharm is going to connect to this database using this information. Swet, do you have a question?
Yes, Professor. So today, as we discussed the Python interpreter thing, how the packages and libraries are, like how they work for the model versions and everything. And even we did like some coding in that, created this database and stuff. So whatever is taught today in the class would be asked in the next week's quiz. Is that
correct?
Right?
Correct. Everything that I said is kind of fair game. I can ask you any question about anything that I covered in this recording. Everything. I mean, we talked about the virtual environments. We talked about databases. We talked about Python, and right now we talked about creating a database. So yes, the answer to your question is yes.
Okay.
Blake.
And sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead. No, it's fine.
Yeah. So we, as we prepare for the next week quiz, like, is there any other assignment due in the week or like before the next Wednesday?
No, nothing. No assignments due. No.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Prof.
Yep. Yep. You're welcome. Blake, you have a question? So yes, Blake is saying, do we have to have Heroku set up for next week? Yes, please do that. When we meet next week on Wednesday, please have Heroku set up, and you want to be able to access this information because I'm going to show you how you can access this information to connect to PyCharm, and after that we can write again some code. Well, Jesse, you wanna kind of, again, I'm not sure how to answer your question. Many things could be in the quiz. I mean, I can give you, for example, a Python code. I mean, one of the obvious things that I can do is I can ask you Python. I can tell you what is the output of this. I mean, that's so you have an idea. You say you don't, but if you think you will find many questions that I can ask you. I can tell you maybe why is it a bad idea to create one table and have everything in it. You know the answer to this question. We talked about that. I told you that it's bad because, first of all, we have a lot of data points that are repeated, so that's not going to be efficient in terms of memory. And also, if you want to update something, it'll also be difficult. Instead of updating kind of all of them, you can just update this. I can ask you, why do we need virtual environments? You have to know the answers to those questions. You can't say that all of that was, I mean, yeah, again, this is really my answer to what you're saying, which is we don't know what's going to be on the quiz. Okay, any other questions? Swit, you have a question, or did you forget to lower your hand?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
All right. All right. Do you guys have any other questions?
Professor, if you don't mind, can you like answer the question you just said as an example? Like, why do we need the virtual environment? Just as a
Yeah, sure. So the reason why we need virtual environments, because, I mean, in simple words, because different projects tend to have different packages, and different projects may use different libraries with different versions. And because of that, creating an isolated kind of virtual environment that contains, now this is kind of the perfect answer, but you may want to kind of rephrase it and make it kind of simpler on you. But essentially, creating virtual environments allow us to separate the packages. So if you just answer so that each project can have its own packages, that's a perfect answer too. So Austin is saying compatibility issues would be a simpler answer. For example, you can say compatibility, sure. Like you can say, because usually, the new versions of packages are going to kind of change the syntax. I mean, they have different syntax. And because of that, the old code is not going to work. And so you might break, the code for other projects. That's why there are many really, I mean, what I said can be rephrased in many different kind of ways, and it'll all be correct. Yeah, so does that good, guys? Is that good? Who asked this question? I think it was Sweat. Okay, so Sweat is giving me the thumbs up, so that's good. Najaf, if you have a question.
Yeah. So my question was that I know that you pause the recording in between the second session. Does that mean we're gonna have like 3 separate videos on the playlist this time for week 2?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have 3 or 4. So the first one is Python. I think that's what it. Well, I think that we did something before Python, didn't we? Or did we just do Python? It'll be 3 or 4. Yeah.
Okay. And so for the next week's quiz, that's gonna be the questions are gonna be out of all of the whole session, right? The whole
Everything.
lecture?
Yeah. Everything
Okay.
that we cover this week. Yeah.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. All right, guys. Do you have other questions? Okay. So it doesn't seem that you have questions. Let's end it here, and I will talk to you on Wednesday next week.